Welcome to the channel Learn with Danish. Subscribe and hit the bell icon.
Hello all. So we'll be discussing the third part of the play written by Bhasa URUBHANGA. And let's just look into what we had discussed in the previous video. We discussed the introduction to the play as such. We see that the theatre assistant, the theatre director and the assistant enters the play and gives a brief setting for the play. What is the play all about? Then we were introduced to the induction of the scene as such, which is also called by the name Viskambaga, the induction scene. And we were introduced to the setting of the play, like there were description of the war field, the Kurukshetra as such. And the three soldiers in the play or in the induction scene actually talked about the glorification and futility of war as such. We also had a discussion on, or we were also told about a detailed description about the duel between Bhim and Duryodhana. And at the end, we see that Balram is entering ferociously into the war field to meet the pathetic Duryodhana, who is lying, who is fallen on the field as such, who is fallen by Bhim through deceit. So let's see, this is basically the last video that we are going to make of URUBHANGA, and in this we would be coming on to the play as such. The first part of the play talks about Balram and Duryodhana's interaction. Balram is actually the guru of both Bhim and Duryodhana. They were his shishya. After the duel, Balrama is bitterly angry with Bhim, and he asks Duryodhana to bear up for a while and states that Bhima through this particular act has lowered the supreme status of his family discipline. So basically he is very angry because it was Bhim who actually crushed Duryodhana's thighs with the mace. And we see that Balrama is actually angered by this act because both are his disciples, or maybe you can call them students, right? He also promises to take revenge for such an act. There is a quote that is from the text: "I will make it draw furrows on Bhima's expansive chest, smeared with a fresh coagulation of sweat and blood." So he'll mix sweat and blood in Bhima's chest. That means he's so angry that he would like to tear off his chest open, right? So this is a kind of anger that is raised through deceit that was done by Bhima. So Bhima was cheating on the war field, and Balrama is really angered, and he expresses his anger. He expresses a kind of revenge towards Bhim through Duryodhana. But he also praises Duryodhana, right? He also praises Duryodhana. He compares Duryodhana with Vasuki. Vasuki is the snake who crawled over to the ocean after the nectar was churned. Duryodhana actually looks glorious according to Balram's perspective. That is the word that he uses. He looks glorious in the war field, and he's like Vasuki. Vasuki is the one who's actually churned nectar, whose nectar has been churned as such and goes through the ocean, Amrit. Right. And when Duryodhana enters, he's seen in a peaceful state of mind. And the once esteemed king is now lying on the feet, and he very well knows that he has been brought down by cheat. I feel my life well repaid. I remain unconquered. That is what Duryodhana actually assumes his life to be. So he's saying that I'm not conquered. Why? Because he's fallen down through cheat. Right? He's fallen down. He's brought down through deceit by Bhim. Right? That is why he says that I remain unconquered. Right? So there is no conquering done by the opposite force. And Duryodhana is in a very peaceful state of mind. So he doesn't actually become angry at the start itself, even though Balram is seen angered. Right. And first of all, set aside thy anger today. Let them live. That is a very strong statement that he makes to Balram. Right. Who is they here? Let them live. Let them live is he's actually talking about Pandavas. Right. So, first of all, set aside thy anger, your anger today. Let them live. That is the response that Balram gets through Duryodhana. Again, when Balram insists that he would take revenge, Duryodhana again aims for peace, glorifying the element of brotherhood. So we see that he's not at all in a state of revenge. He's not avenging for his fall as such. Duryodhana is seen extremely philosophical, and which is quite contrary to the original epic Mahabharata. Right, his bhasa here is trying to glorify Duryodhana. After repeated attempts, Duryodhana is not angered on Bhima because he was defeated through deceit. So this is the only state of mind that he has. Like he knows that Bhima actually pulled him down through deceit by crashing his thighs, which was not supposed to be crashed in a mace duel. Right. Now the next people who comes to the scene is actually a kind of what you say. It is not actually seen in the original epic, where the family of Duryodhana comes onto the war field. So who all are there? Dhritarashtra, the father; Gandhari, the mother of fearless sons. That is how she is being described. Mother of fearless sons, because her all 100 sons were massacred or were killed during the war. Duryodhana's two wives, who are they? Malavi and Pauravi, and his son, his smallest son, Durjaya, who is actually a child and who could not participate in the war and who is not martyred in the war just because he was a child, arrive at the battlefield. So these people, or the kith and kin of Duryodhana, actually arrives into the battlefield, Samanta Panchaka, and we see that this doesn't happen in the original epic. In fact, Pandavas actually go to Gandhari and Dhritarashtra and console them in Hastinapura. Right, they stay back in Hastinapura, but in Bhasa's play, URUBHANGAM, we see that these people come to the war field in order to create a kind of tragic effect. When Duryodhana sees his wives, so when he sees his wives, he's more saddened. Why? Because he's more saddened because the thrashing of maces by Bhim wasn't the painful compared to such a sight where his family has come to see him in the battlefield. So he's seeing that even though with lot of effort, with lot of difficulty, because Gandhari and Dhritarashtra both are actually seen to be visually blind as such, and on the other hand, Malavi and Pauravi are people who are actually considered to be queens, and still they, and being a lady, it was not right to enter the battlefield as such, because it wasn't considered an auspicious state of affairs. Right. So Dhritarashtra says that he has been blinded more, indicating that his all the strength has been deduced or has been completely nullified as such. Right. So we see that Duryodhana is really saddened seeing the the parents and the wives and his particular and his son in the battlefield. Yes. So we see that all these things happen there, and Gandhari is also grief stricken as such. The two wives mourning at the state of Duryodhana, and both the wives are actually mourning at the state of Duryodhana. Then what happens? What happens in the next scene? It's not the scene actually, it happens in the continuation of that particular thing. When Dhritarashtra asks Duryodhana to greet him, he gets up and falls down. Right. The Bhimasena at the time, that Bhimasena at the time, he seized me by the hair and dealt me a blow from the club, should have deprived me today, along with my thighs, of the homage to my father's feet. So you should be blamed. He should be blamed. Bhima should be blamed actually for depriving Duryodhana to fall onto his father's feet. So he's really saddened by his state of affairs. So he's really sad that he could not actually get up and greet his father who has come to see him in the battlefield. Intense tragic flow actually happens when during the interaction with his son Durjaya. Right. Duryodhana says, "Oh, he too has come. Love for child, which is present in the heart under all conditions, burns me now." So he's actually burning with grief when he sees his son too in the battlefield. It's a very pathetic state of affairs when a small kid is walking through dead bodies in between the war fields, guiding his grandparents. Right, he was the one who is guiding Gandhari and Dhritarashtra, Durjaya. So there is an intense tragic flow when we see his son also seen in the battlefield. Durjaya rushes to Duryodhana. So just like any child would actually go rushing to his father, Durjaya is seen rushing to Duryodhana to sit on his lap. And when Duryodhana is actually seeing Durjaya coming towards him, Duryodhana stops and says, "Leave, my child, please go away. You wanted seat." Your wanted seat means the seat that you love the most, your wanted seat, and sit anywhere you want, sit anywhere you like. From now on, the seat you enjoyed before does not exist. So from now on, the seat that you had enjoyed before, that is the lap of Duryodhana, does not exist. That means his lap is completely crushed by Bhim, and he's trying to say that, he's trying to explain it to his son Durjaya. Right. So he's actually grief stricken, seeing his state of mind, and the son doesn't know, Durjaya doesn't know what has happened to his father actually. Now there is a serious conversation between Duryodhana and Durjaya, and it is through this conversation that we see that there is a kind of extreme tragedy that is portrayed in this play. For example, I'll just give an example here. Durjaya actually comes. Oh, where would the king go? Where would the king go? That is his father. Where would you go, my father? The king is here represented to be Duryodhana. Well, I shall follow my brothers, my fearless brothers, my 100 brothers. Well, I shall follow my 100 brothers. So Durjaya says, the next dialogue, see there, take me to there, take me to there. The king says again, go my son, ask Bhima. Go my son, ask Bhima. Yeah, I will take you there, but you need to ask Bhima. So he's saying that the state of pathetic condition that has been affected on Duryodhana is actually a consequence of what Bhim has done towards his thighs. Right. So he's going to die. He's actually saying that, my son, I'm going to die. I'm going to meet my brothers. I'm going to follow my brothers as such. So he's through his innocence, Durjaya is actually innocent, and he's actually a small kid. He doesn't know what is happening around in the war field. He doesn't know what has happened to his father, and he says in a very innocent manner, "Take me to there." Right, he's actually telling his father to take me to there, because he's not happy when his father goes all alone. Right. So these are all the tragic moments in the play. For example, when Dhritarashtra seeks for his son, we see that Durjaya, here is the king sitting on the ground. Dhritarashtra, oh alas, is this the great king? He's actually asking himself, is this the great king? He who indeed was one king of kings in the world and equaled a golden pillar is now lying in the earth and miserable plight, reduced to half the size of the bolt of some big door. So he's actually really saddened by Duryodhana, who is lying on the floor, lying on the war field, actually. And we see that he's actually described as the king of kings, who was once the king of kings. So Duryodhana was so strong, so able a leader, that he was considered to be the king of kings. And how does Duryodhana console his father? Duryodhana says, "I have been smitten down in battle, fighting face to face." That is what he's actually stressing on. So I am not a person who has cowardly walked back, but I have fought face to face. "Oh Father, favor me by suppressing your grief." So please don't be saddened. You need to favor me. You need to make I request you to please be happy about it, because I have faced the enemy face to face. My forehead bowed at thy feet alone, not minding even the blazing fire. I will go to heaven with the same pride with which I came into the world. So I'm really a proud soldier. I'm really a proud person who's actually fallen in the war field in a very dignified manner. That is what Duryodhana is actually coming out with. So you need to be proud of me, my father. He's actually saying it to Dhritarashtra. So when Dhritarashtra is grief-stricken, when Dhritarashtra is telling that particular thing, the dialogue that you see on the screen, we see that there is a consolation that is made by Duryodhana. So all the family members come up with a grief-stricken statement, and Duryodhana is trying to console them. Right. So he's saying to his father that you needn't worry, because he has faced the fight in a very bold manner. Now let's look at his conversation with Gandhari mother. What request did Duryodhana actually make to his mother, or during his conversation with mother? Let's look at that particular dialogue. The king, which is Duryodhana: "Honored lady, I make a request." Gandhari: "Speak, child." King: "I bow to thee and pray that if I have done any righteous deed, that you and none else be my mother in the next birth too." Very sentimental statement that is made by Duryodhana. So we see that Duryodhana is actually loving his mother into a great extent through this particular statement. He says that if I get a chance in the afterlife, if ever I get a chance in the afterlife, you should be my mother. That is one of the most sentimental, one of the most loving, one of the most caring statement that a mother would get from a son. And Gandhari is also replying to this, that I too wish the same. I too wish the same, in the sense that she's also very fond of Duryodhana, because he is considered to be the eldest among the 100 sons that she had. So we see that there's a kind of intense what you say, attraction towards his mother, where he's actually talking about the respect that he owed to his mother. So Bhasa is actually glorifying Duryodhana through the statement, where he's actually, when he consoles his father Dhritarashtra for that matter, or when he makes a request to Gandhari for that matter. Now the third interaction with the family member was with the interaction with his wives. Now how Duryodhana calls for Malavi first, right? Malavi is the first wife that he calls for, and says that her husband is injured in a furious fight of the maces. So he comes up with the statement, your husband not turn away his face when he was struck down in the fight. Why do you weep then? Right, so he's asking Malavi, why do you weep? Because your husband has been struck down in the mace fight, facing each other. I haven't acted like a coward. So why do you weep? I weep because I am a woman. That's what she replies actually. I weep because I'm a woman and I'm weak as such. That's a very poisonous statement, because you cannot make that statement right now in the modern day world. But still, he calls for Pauravi and states the pride of being one of the most powerful king. So he's actually praising himself, how he has led 18 armies, how he has given all pleasures to his dependents. So he's requesting that wives of such a pride person should not weep. So on the first hand, in the first conversation with Malavi, he says that he has done the righteous thing in the war field, and he has fallen through deceit, and he has faced his enemy face to face. So there is no point in weeping, because there is a kind of pride sense into that soldier who's fallen down in war field fighting the battle. So, and he's also describing himself, he's also telling about his qualities. So in fact, Basa is actually trying to point out the all the positive qualities in Duryodhana, rather than pointing out the negative qualities, which has been told in the epic Mahabharata in great detail. Right. So on the whole, Duryodhana at last comes up with the advice to his son. That is also very creating an intense tragic effect. So enmity is actually turned into repentance through his advice to his son. Now king says, Durjaya, you too listen. Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, what do you think he would say? Gandhari, I too am thinking about the same. So his parents are actually trying to decode what he is actually coming out. Means, king, serve the Pandavas as you would serve me. Obey the commands of the revered Kunti and honor Abhimanyu's mother and Draupadi as you would your own mother. Offer me libations of water along with the sons of Pandu when I am dead. So he makes 3 advices to his son. The first advice is serve the Pandavas. Just imagine the people who have killed you or people who have murdered you. You say that you let them live. That is very a strong statement, indicating that he's actually very strong mentally. Right, you need to serve the Pandavas as you would serve me. That is the first request or first advice that he makes to his son Durjaya. The second advice is obey the commands of Kunti and Abhimanyu's mother and Draupadi. These are all people who are actually, Draupadi was a person who's actually ridiculed or who's actually abused by the Kauravas, especially Karnan. Right, you might have known in the epic Mahabharata, these were the people who were actually insulted in Mahabharata. And he's actually saying that to his son Durjaya, that you need to respect these ladies too, just like you respect your mother. So you need to consider them as your mother as such. The third one is actually poignant again, because you need to do libations. After one dies, you need to do rituals. So you need to do all the after rituals, or the end rituals, or the funeral rituals, funeral rites, along with along with what you say, Pandu, along with the sons of Pandu. Pandu means the Pandavas. So the Pandavas should guide you. You should guide you. You have to be walking along with the Pandus in order to do the libations, or in order to pay my final rites as such. And we come to the end of the play. After giving the advice to his son Durjaya, we see that Ashwathama is urging the king to take revenge. Ashwathama, who is actually the son of Drona, and he's actually urging the king to take revenge upon what you say, upon the Pandavas. So when Ashwathama urges the king to take revenge on Pandavas, Duryodhana is reluctant in doing so, and he says that all the members of Kauravas are dead right now. Ashwathama plans for a nocturnal attack on the Pandavas. So Ashwathama is actually seen in Mahabharata 2 in chapter 10, in book 10. We see that Ashwathama is planning a nocturnal attack in the night, right? And it is only after that Duryodhana dies. But here there is some change, where we see that Ashwathama is pleading Duryodhana to attack Pandavas, to give him permission to attack Pandavas. But Duryodhana actually does not have any kind of revenge motive here. And in fact, he says that since all the Kauravas are dead, why are you planning to attack them? Because you know that they are much stronger than the Kauravas right now. He declares Durjaya to be the next king in front of Duryodhana. Ashwathama declares Durjaya. So Durjaya is actually the descendant of Duryodhana, and Duryodhana is very pleased with that particular coronation ceremony. So he's in a very peaceful state of mind at the end of his life. Right, he dies a peaceful death with thousands of fairies coming in, swans coming in, and his brothers and nymphs like Urvashi, who have come to take him to heaven. So Duryodhana is seen with a huge procession, a procession of people, with a huge procession of people whom he have known before, because his brothers all have died. All his brothers have come to greet him to heaven. That is, the moment of death is described in vivid detail. How Duryodhana is actually greeted by these nymphs like Urvashi, or the people from heaven as such. And with this we come to the end of the play, actually. Right, with this we come to the end of the play. I hope that you have understood the play in great detail. It's a very small play, but with certain changes from the original epic Mahabharata. If you do have any comments or doubts, please do post it in the comment box below. If you like this video, please do share it with the needed people as such, because it would help out the students of 6th semester BA English of Calicut University. So till then, it's me, Danish, signing off. Have a good day. Learn with Danish.